first question for the discussion is, what words are you unfamiliar with? Look them up. How does your knowledge of the definitions impact your understanding of the passage? I did inclined, and then I looked it up, and the definition was feeling willing or favorably disposed towards an action, belief, or attitude. What words did you guys do for that?
I don't know if I'm saying this right, it's partisan, I think, I don't know, and that's a strong supporter of a party or a cause. I also did fluent, and that is a group of, or area that has a lot of money. And I said it helped me to like understand who they were talking about in the passage, rather than like, because I thought they were just like things, like not talking about people, but talking about.
I did the partisan one. Yeah.
And then I was gonna ask, just what's your opinion on vaccines? Like, do you feel like it should be mandatory or
that was my
something
question,
that you should decide?
I think that people like just like depending on the household. I think that like a household that someone in that household has already had the disease or something, everyone in that household should have to get the vaccine. But if they haven't had the disease, then it's an option.
Yeah, that's like a good idea, but I also think that if it's something small like the flu virus, then it shouldn't be required. But if it's something that's like other people can catch it and it like affects other people, or something big that could kill you possibly, then you should have to get a vaccine.
And I was gonna say it shouldn't be mandatory for anyone, but I do think that like it should be mentioned more in schools, because people who say that it doesn't like help at all, it actually, most vaccines do prevent it, almost prevent it, not entirely. But by not like vaccinating your children, as one of the authors stated, you need to find that the anti-vaccination argument is often snugly wrapped in the "I love my kids" sentiment, and I find that, well, a little insulting. To suggest that anyone who vaccinates their children doesn't love them in a whole new level of lunacy. But here, the fact of the matter for me is not just because I love my kids that I vaccinated, it's because I love your kids as well. And I think that's a good reason to vaccinate your children, because not only does it affect your kids from not getting the disease, it also affects other kids from not catching it from your kids.
Yeah, that was kind of my point. Okay.
But I don't think it should be required. I think it should be highly enforced.
Do you
Not
think
enforced.
do you think there should be any like laws passed on vaccines, which is basically what we just talked about, but like
Well, I looked this up, and some people, there was a law saying that if it was against your religion, you didn't have to, but I looked this up, and there is no religion that states that vaccines are, like, there's no religion that has vaccines part of it at all, and most, like, churches, one of the churches that I was looking up for, this person used it as like a way to say that their kids didn't have to get vaccines, and they like went to the church and they found out the church highly enforced vaccines and recommended everyone to get them. So using that as an argument isn't really the smartest idea.
I had a question. Why do you think the author chose to use two different articles rather than
Because I think like the two different articles, the first one like shows the different people that are, I think this was a question, I don't know which one, maybe in one of the first or second ones, but I think it was a question. But I said like, I think that like the first article like gives more insight about who is saying what, like what age of people, like because the older people, they've had that disease and they think, well, yeah, we shouldn't get that because they've experienced it or have family and friend that have experienced it. So yeah, and then the second one was like, it was talking about the facts of the article and stuff. So I think you needed kind of both to get like all the information.
Yes, because first off, I didn't really see the second one, and I only read the first one. One time for the first reading, then I read through the second one because I didn't realize it was there, and I looked at the questions and like, is there another article in this? scrolled down and found it. Anyway, without the second one, the first one doesn't really have that much of an argument. It's mainly facts stating about both sides and doesn't really give that much of the author's opinion. However, in the second one, it's very suggested of the author's opinion.
Yeah, like that. I think that was a question too. The like difference, like which one was stronger. I like said the second one because the first one where it like compares the fact to the opinion, like the first paragraph of it. I think that like it made a really strong point. The other one was just kind of like stating facts. I think that made like a really strong point, but also stated facts.
But yeah, like I said, the first one wasn't as much as the argument as in stating facts. And I think both articles did need each other to make sense, because if I just read the second one, for example, I don't think I would have had that much of a reason to say if I was against it or with it, as I did, because the first one gave so much information about vaccines.
Yeah.
And the second one was kind of like the authors saying like other medicines, what specific one? I think it was like Tylenol kills people every year, so there's water. And no one's ever afraid of that, so why are people afraid of vaccines? Something she mentioned in here. I can't find it.
So like the first one was more like factual, the second one was more persuasive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should kids be vaccinated like kids or wait till they're adults? Like,
Well,
I
I
feel
think like maybe it should be that should be a choice too, because I feel like you should be able to decide. Because kids, I think like having your parent decide for you is fine, but like I'm guessing people want to decide for themselves. So like if they're adults, they can probably like decide for themselves.
your mom's not gonna decide for you when you're
Yeah.
20.
Also, I'd like to say it would be better to vaccinate your children when they're younger, because then they could build up their immune system when they were younger.
Yeah, and then they have like less
a
likely,
stronger
because when
one
you're
when
older, you have more time to catch the disease. But when you're younger, you get it right away. But also, like little kids don't handle shots very well.
Yeah, that's true.
Neither do I.
Okay, I had one more question. It's like, it was, why do you think the amount of Democrats and Republicans for vaccines went from the same in like 2006 or something, and it says in like 2013 it was like 87% was for and 75 like they were completely different numbers. Like, why do you think that?
Well, like it's kind of the same thing with the older people. Like think like they all kind of agreed that they should have vaccines because they knew people who had had that disease, and then like the younger people.
Well, just in general, Democrats and Republicans have very different opinions, just because that's how, I guess, it just is, because they see money differently, they see how our country should be ran differently, so everything will be different.
And then that's everyone's question too. Okay, so then the third discussion question, research the topic, author, or background of your passage. Which information did you learn that could contribute to the discussion? So I chose to look at the author. I think her name was like at the very top, it said like sources next to a name. And that's who I looked up here. I can't find it right now. But it was someone.
It was Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so it's Monica Anderson from the Pew Research Center. And then so I looked her up and I couldn't really find anything about her, but I found that she's from Georgetown University and she has a master's degree in communication, culture, and technology. And then she is still alive, I think. Yeah.
I just found that like vaccines, they can like prevent like over 16 million illnesses like each year. I thought that was like a really big number. So
Yeah, like that's
So I like researched a little more into like why people don't get vaccinations, and so they use a lot of excuses for just like they think vaccines basically give their children autism, but I think like there's the chance of getting autism, but then there's these really deadly diseases.
That could kill you.
Kill you.
Would you rather have your child have autism and live the rest of their life happy just with a mental disorder, or would you have them be dead?
And there's a very slight chance that they'll get autism. Like,
Yeah. Also, again, the religious thing. In this article, it said there was rarely any mention of vaccinations in any religion, so people using that as an excuse, again, wasn't that smart, and it's just an excuse, a made-up excuse.